Hey guys, Kevin here with UpNorth Adventures. We're out on kind of a unique trip this time. We're in Gordon, Wisconsin at the historic fire tower. We rented this cabin back here, I'll show you it in a minute, through Airbnb. And with the cabin you get access to the fire tower. Let me just flip the camera around here. So we'll bring you up there, give you a little tour, go up into the cabin, talk all about the history, and just explore the area. It should be fun. Here's home for the next couple nights. Beautiful little rustic cabin. Nice kitchen area over here. Fridge. And your bathroom right over here. Compost toilet, shower, and your sink.
As nice and cozy as the cabin was, I was most interested in climbing to the top of the fire tower. The Gordon Tower is one of just 2 remaining in the state that are available to the public.
I'm about 4 flights of stairs up now, just about tree level. A few more flights to go.
Standing at an impressive 100 feet, this tower is tied for the tallest in the state, with magnificent views of the St. Croix River, town of Gordon, and Douglas County Forest, which is the largest county forest in the state of Wisconsin.
Well, here we are. We made it. This is a lot smaller than I thought it would be.
The tower cab measures 7 foot by 7 foot, and everything inside was just as the last tower person had left it. The only tools needed as a fire lookout person are a pair of binoculars, an alidade, which are instruments that use lines of sight and geometry to determine distances and angles between objects, and a telephone to report the location of the fire.
A little wood stove down here. That's awesome. Looks like you could still use it too. Give you some perspective there. It's about as big as my boot.
Shortly after arrival, I had the pleasure of meeting property manager Jesse Smith, along with local historian Brian Finsted. I was interested in learning some of the history of the Gordon Fire Tower, and even though the nearby historical museum was closed for the season, Brian was nice enough to let me in to gather some more info. While most fire towers were built far from any town or city, Gordon's Tower is unique with its close proximity to Main Street. From the museum you can clearly see the tower majestically rising above the tree line overlooking town. The museum had some really nice displays, and it was interesting learning some of the town's history. As it turns out, the current fire tower wasn't the first in Gordon. So next I wanted to explore the area and see if I could find the location of the very first 2 towers built here. The history of fire lookout towers predates the United States Forest Service, founded in 1905. Before that, many townships, private lumber companies, and state forest organizations operated towers under their own accord. For Gordon, the very first tower was built and operated by the Cornell Wood Products Company, which was a 40-foot high wooden structure located near the Eau Claire River. So I set off to find the location of these first 2 towers built here.
Well, I'm on the property where the old towers once stood, and there's supposed to be a marker out here. We'll see if I can't find it. I really have no idea where, but I have my topo maps, and I'm assuming it's on the highest point. It's pretty steep. I'm sure the camera isn't really showing it, but it's quite the climb. And we're probably less than a mile from the other tower there, just northeast of it. Might even be able to see it once I get up here a little further. This is an area locally known as Sand Hill, but it is on private land, and I got permission to be out here, so.
In the early 1900s, the United States began using tree stands and high-point tents as fire detection, and by 1903, Wisconsin enacted its first forestry laws. In 1904, E.M. Griffith becomes the first forester in Douglas County. By 1911, the state has provided funding for forestry protection. Under the direction of E.M. Griffith, a second tower would be built at the same location as the old wooden structure. The second tower was designed by Joe Lucius and built by Frank Moore, Al Thayer, and P.A. McDonald.
So as I just wander through the woods looking for this place, I'm going to insert an audio clip of an interview with Joe Lucius before his passing, as he describes his involvement in the fire towers and this area in particular where P.A. McDonald built the very first tower.
Griffith came in the latter part of August after the commission had met, authorized 4 fire towers 60 feet high. Ordered me to draw plans and build 4 fire towers. I said, where are you going to build them over? I said, why, Joe? He said, because wood, of course, there's nothing doing. I said, I'll shoot point blank. He says, I'll not draw plans, or will I build a wooden tower 60 feet high with ladders that would be safe probably for 4 or 5 years. Well, he says, what are you going to build them with? I said, steel. And I had a catalogue there, and I took it down. The duplex manufacturing company out here in South Superior.
That's right.
I says, I know these people out there, and I says, I know what they're doing. I says, they're one of the biggest windmill concerns in the United States. I says, I can make a plan. I says, we can work on the basis of an 80-foot tower. But anyway, that's where we got our first 4 towers from.
These 4 towers would be the first steel towers in the state, and later Lucius would design and build the very first tower cabin.
McDonald, when he was located at Gordon, and had already built that 80-foot tower north of Eau Claire River, and he asked me if I couldn't build a cabin. You know, they only had a hand rolling around the top.
Yeah. They started to enclose the towers, of course, not too long after those first 4 were built.
Through the ingenuity of Joe Lucius, his plans would set the trend for how the country's standard fire towers would be built thereafter. In 1914, fire towers across the country began to be constructed using modified windmill specs. However, it was the Air Motor Company that was introduced as the manufacturer, not the duplex company of Superior that Lucius had been working with.
So I'm still looking. I don't really know what I'm looking for. If it's a sign above the ground or if it's like a survey marker on the ground. So this area I'm at right here seems like it would be the most logical place. It's kind of flat. You can see off to the southwest and the ridge coming up here over the St. Croix. But my topo has this being the highest point up here, so I'm going to keep going.
With no record of these towers, I had no coordinates to go by, but after searching a bit, I found the markers buried under some branches and debris.
Alright guys, here it is, I found it. Survey marker where the original fire tower was built by P.A. McDonald. Gordon Tower.
I wasn't able to find any information on this marker, so I reached out to Douglas County surveyor Matt Johnson for answers. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to find any data either, but he plans to place a monument sign at the site so that it is not lost in history.
All right, guys, that was very cool. I didn't think beginning to think I wasn't going to find it. But you can see the other tower through the trees there. So anyway, we're going to get down to back to the tower. Actually, I'm going to stop at the Buckhorn. Buckhorn? Is that it? Yeah, Buckhorn, and pick up some burgers. That's a cool place too. That's got a lot of history in itself. The old Buckhorn, that's been there forever.
After exploring the area for a while, I returned to the site of the current tower. In 1932, the state turned to the Air Motor Company once again to begin building the new standard fire towers. 1935 brought the construction of Gordon's current fire tower, the Air Motor MC-39 model, which is one of the most common designs in the country. It was prefabricated in Chicago and shipped to Wisconsin to be assembled. It was completed in 1936. They chose a new location for the tower as well. They abandoned the Eau Claire River site in favor of the current location overlooking the St. Croix River.
So this is St. Croix. We just finished canoeing all this a couple months ago. And we started at the headwaters in Solon Springs, which is that way. We finished it all the way down to Stillwater, the end of the national park.
The Gordon Fire Tower played a key role in some significant wildfires in northern Wisconsin, such as the 5 Mile Fire of 1977, the Oak Lake Fire of 1980, and most recently the Germain Fire of 2013. Wisconsin once had nearly 150 fire towers in the state. The DNR started decommissioning the towers in 2016, and currently just 46 remain. Of those 46, the Gordon Tower is one of just 2 available to the public. While enjoying an evening at the Buckhorn, Brian Finsted got word of the Gordon Tower's fate. He then contacted the DNR about saving it. The timing couldn't have been more crucial. The tower was slated to be scrapped just 2 days later. The DNR gave him a year to come up with a plan. Through the efforts of Finsted and a local nonprofit organization, Friends of the Bird Sanctuary, they took on the responsibility of overseeing the tower and created a fundraising event called Save the Tower Campaign. The generosity and support from the community was outstanding. The cabin itself was donated by Mike and Dorothy O'Brien and moved from nearby Whitefish Lake to its current location. Rental of the cabin will play a key role in the future maintenance of the tower.
So some of the maintenance they have to do on this, about every 20 years they have to re-galvanize it. So I imagine that's a pretty good expense.
Another way the organization has raised funds is by offering the public a chance to be a sponsor. In return, the sponsor has their name engraved on a plaque and placed on one of the landings or steps of the tower. As sun set on the tower, I made my way back down to the cabin, gathered some firewood, and enjoyed a relaxing night by the fire pit. Even the fire pit ring was personalized and donated by a local business.
It's getting cold, temperature's dropping fast. It's going to get down in the 20s again tonight, so this fire's feeling good. Anyway, we're going to enjoy the rest of our night and check in the morning.
As I enjoyed a nice relaxing evening by the fire, I couldn't help but think of the dedication from all the towermen that served these towers in the past.
The towerman's job's a lonely one. He hasn't a chance to have much fun, sitting along and gazing about, awaiting the words, "It's time to check out." His lonely vigil he keeps on high, under the clouds high up in the sky. When smoke he sees, dispatcher he phones, who always answers in very loud tones. "I've got a smoke on a certain degree." "How far away from?" says he. Then he checks with another tower, and rangers are there within the hour. Sometimes he bakes and sometimes freezes, has no jurisdiction o'er the breezes. Week in and week out he sits twists and sways, and every week has 7 long days. Now some may think it's a wonderful snap to stand all day and lean on a map, but they too would be ready to shout when they heard the words, "It's time to check out."